Coming to you live from our Newsfirst studio here in Colombo on MTV Sport and Shakti TV. This is Newsfirst Prime Time News. I am Shahin Jurangpati.
And I am Inoshi Sekara. Let's take a look at your headlines for tonight.
Elections Commissioner expresses his displeasure over the situation in Monoragala. More than 36 hours since a girl went missing in Nikadalupota. 6 police teams looking for a trace of the missing child. Opposition questions government in parliament as to why it is operating to adopt the Japanese standard for TV digitalization without consensus. An exchange of words between the chief government whip and the chair over the lack of quorum in parliament. Is there a photography enterprise underway in the Higher Education Ministry's leadership training program? An Action TV expose.
In your top story tonight, over 36 hours have lapsed since the disappearance of 4-year-old Pamara Keshani Bandara of Nikathalupota, Kurunegala. However, no information has come to light about the disappearance of the child. According to the police, 6 teams have been deployed to conduct investigations into the disappearance.
Pamara Keshani Bandara Vijay, who lives in this house, went missing last morning. Investigations were launched by the police as soon as they received word of the disappearance. However, they are yet to find the child. Newsfirst travelled to the area today and witnessed many 80 residents arriving at the residence of the missing girl.
My sister's child is like my own child. So at a situation like this, I request every official that the law be implemented further and that a more extensive investigation be carried out to ease our pain, the pain of our relatives and of our family members. So it would send a message to the rest of the country that the law of this country is good and strong and that we have a good police force.
Police media spokesperson SSP Ajit Rona noted that a CID team was also dispatched from Colombo today to aid in the investigation process. Statements have been recorded from 10 persons, including the missing child's father, with regard to the disappearance. President Mahinda Rajapaksa has reportedly said that he is open to discussing the implementation of the 13th Amendment in talks with the TNA. The president had reportedly made these remarks in an interview with India's The Hindu newspaper. Suhashini Haidar, Diplomatic and Strategic Affairs Editor at India's The Hindu newspaper, posted on Twitter that President Mahinda Rajapaksa had said in an interview that he is open to discussing the implementation of the 13th Amendment to the Constitution with the exception of police powers in talks with the Tamil National Alliance. The president had also reportedly said that Sri Lanka will never forget the support rendered by India to defeat the LTTE.
Now, the Elections Commissioner Mahinda Deshapriya says that he is not ready to hold the Uva Provincial Council elections in 2 days. At a media briefing convened at the Election Secretariat today, Deshapriya made the following statement on the matter.
The question everyone is asking is if the election for 2 districts are being held simultaneously and if there is enough time. According to provisions in the Act, the elections cannot be held for one district separately. We have no intention of postponing the election. Who can say that a peaceful election can be held in Monoragala? Can it at least be held in a manner close to the situation that was witnessed in Galle, Colombo, Kalutara, Gampaha, or at least in Hambantota? There is a certain issue. I am not trying to postpone or instill fear. I need to solve this matter. This is why I am saying this. We say that the situation in Monoragala is far from normal. That is how it should be said. It is not extremely bad. Based on the complaints and observations that have been made, the situation there could be considered as far from normal, and police officers have promised that they are doing their level best to bring this situation under control.
Meanwhile, Janata Vimukti Peramuna charged in Parliament yesterday that underworld groups from outside areas are obstructing election activities in the Monoragala district.
ජනාධිපති ආරක්ෂක ඒකකෙන් නිල වශයෙන් වෙන් කරලද වාහන ගෙන ගිහිල්ලා ඉතාවක කීමෙන් කියන්නේ
Vehicles that have been officially allocated for the Presidential Security Division have been taken there. I am making this statement with the utmost responsibility. Thugs have been taken there. Underworld groups from Colombo and Suriwava have been taken there. They move around dressed in black t-shirts, in black defenders that have no license plates. Why are they inflicting terror on the people? If you have indeed developed the Uva province and if you have the young king in charge, then why do you need to take defenders with no license plates, wear black t-shirts and strike fear into the people? If you have rebuilt the country and if you have developed the country, then go tell that story to the people there. Afterwards, the people will decide. Have you prepared for an election?
සංවර්ධනය කරපු කතාව ගිහිල්ලා කියන්න. කිව්වට පස්සේ ජනතාව තීරණය කරයි. තමුන්වන්සලා ලෑස්තිලා තියෙන ඡන්දයකටද? මැතිවරණයකටද මැරවරණයකටද? කරුණාකරලා මේ රටට කියන්න.
Please tell this country, if they can roam around freely with firearms, if underworld groups can roam around freely, and if they can shoot people on sight, then is it an election? They can't look at an office without setting it on fire. They can't look at the color red without setting it on fire. They can't look at a red colored stage without setting it on fire. Have they sent the fire gods from Hambantota to Monragala?
Even though Andhra Kumara has not mentioned it, there was one instance where I saw persons from political parties connected to the government who had come from outside areas. Until I can catch them with certainty, as the Elections Commissioner, I cannot say that they are underworld persons who have gone from Colombo and Hambantota. They cannot be identified for certain. If there are thugs and underworld figures there, then it is the duty of the police to prevent their actions. The key problem today is each person identifying their duties.
Police රාජකාරිය. අද තියෙන ප්‍රධානම ප්‍රශ්නේ තමයි තමන්ගේ රාජකාරිය මොකද්ද අනුන්ගේ රාජකාරිය මොකද්ද? කෑ ගහන්න ඕනේ හොරු පැන්නම ඒක අයිති මිනිහා මිසක් අනික් මිනිහා නෙවෙයිනේ බෑ. මට පුළුවන් ද?
Can I go around stopping vehicles to check for thugs? Do I have that power? I have informed the police of this.
මම ඉල්ලලා තියෙනවා පොලිසියෙන්.
එහෙම ප්‍රචණ්ඩයක් වළක්වන්න පුළුවන් කමක් නැත්නම්
if we do not have the ability to prevent incidents of violence, then it will become a state of terror there. And that has not happened, has it? In terms of incidents, 56 incidents have been reported to the police. We have done our duty and already arrested 40 persons in connection with these incidents. We are taking action within the legal framework and will continue to do so in the future. If someone says that the police do not have control of the situation, then that is wrong.
Meanwhile, at a meeting with the Elections Commissioner today, the Jatika Sangha Sammelaniya warned that if the situation in Uva is not brought under control, there is a danger of it leading to loss of life.
We have great doubt that if this election continues in this way, then there could be even murders in the coming weeks. A presidential election will be held in the future. This is a decisive election for all parties. Each candidate is spending in excess of 100 million on this election. Alcohol is being distributed like food is given at dansals. We have informed the Elections Commissioner. If this situation continues, it could create a state of terror.
මේ තත්වය දිගින් දිගටම ගියොත් මෙවැනි බිහිසුණු තත්වයක් ඇති විය හැකි.
සුදුසු පුද්ගලයන් කවුද කියලා හොඳට හඳුනාගෙන ඔබේ වටින ඡන්දේ
Cast your valuable vote after carefully determining who the suitable candidates are. Do not think about which party they are from. When unqualified persons are elected, the country will never be developed. The province will not be served. We heard that robes were being distributed at some viharas recently during the Poya Day. We heard that food was being distributed with the names and numbers of the candidates. We wonder whether these are indeed good deeds that these people are doing.
සීල්රෙදි බෙදා දෙනවා ඒ වගේම කෑම් බෙදා දෙනවා මේ අපේක්ෂකයන්ගේ නම ගහලා අංකේ ගහලා මේ මිනිස්සු මේ පින්කම්ද කරගන්නේ කියලා අපට හිතෙනවා.
The Election Secretariat has received 41 complaints regarding public officials being used for political activities in the run-up to the Uva Provincial Council election. The complaints in it at the Secretariat notes that 4 complaints have been lodged with regard to the misuse of state property. The Election Secretariat has received a total of 201 complaints so far in the run-up to the poll, while 128 of these complaints have been lodged from the Munragala district. Newsfirst Lakmal Kirindagala from the Newsfirst Uva Election Bureau reports on the situation in the Munragala district ahead of the election.
Preparations are in full swing in the Munragala district for the Uva Provincial Council elections. The Newsfirst team, which visited the District Assistant Elections Commissioner's office, witnessed firsthand the hustle and bustle at the office.
The Newsfirst Uva Election Bureau is at the office of the Assistant Elections Commissioner of Monragala.
Even as we speak, behind me, preparations are underway for the elections. If we take into consideration the preparation work that took place in the Monragal district today, we did not receive a single report of election law violations or any other type of illegal activity. What we also saw was that all parties contesting the election are carrying out their campaign from door to door in a peaceful manner. So this was the mood in the Monragala district today.
The Newsfirst team also visited the Uwa Velasa Freedom Struggle Memorial and witnessed how the memorial too had been used for election campaigning.
Now, on a related note, Newsfirst Samara Sri Bandara at the Newsfirst Uwa Election Bureau filed this report from the Badulla district.
ඌව කාර්යාංශයේ අපි අද බදුල්ල දිස්ත්‍රික්කයේ බොහෝ ප්‍රදේශවල සංචාරය කළා. විශේෂයෙන්ම සඳහන් කරන්න ඕන කාරණේ තමයි පහුගිය දිනවලදී අපි සඳහන් කළා වගේ
The Newsfirst Uwa Election Bureau toured several areas in the Badulla district today. An important factor that should be mentioned is that posters, cutouts and banners that were seen on either side of the road over the past few days were taken down by the police within a short span of time. However, when we moved away from the city towards rural areas, several illegal campaign officers, posters and banners were seen, especially these walls which are on either side of the road which leads to the city. Also, an important factor that needs to be mentioned is that when we were moving around the city, we saw many unregistered vehicles with garage number plates being driven around. Vehicles like these are quite common as of late. Furthermore, at around 1:20 this morning, the police had received a complaint that a member of the JVP had been assaulted. Similar reports have been received from the Badulla district over the past few days, where a group of JVP supporters were attacked while putting up posters in the area. These are the reports that the Newsfirst Uwa Election Bureau has on the situation in the Badulla district.
And up next is Newsline.
ඉදිරියේදී පැවැත්වීමට නියමිත ජාතික මැතිවරණ පෙරහැරේ පෙරගමන.
The upcoming Uwa Provincial Council polls can be categorized as a herald signaling the arrival of several other elections. Venerable Tero, has the search for the common candidate for the presidential poll stalled because of this poll?
පොදු අපේක්ෂකයාගේ සොයා ගැනීම සොයා යාම යටපත් වෙලාද තියෙන්නේ.
ඇත්තටම ටිකක් යටපත් වුණාට මොකද ඒක ජනතාව අතර තියෙන විශාල බලාපොරොත්තුවක්. මම හිතා ඌව පළාත් සභා මැතිවරණයේදී
It has stalled a bit. However, this is an aspiration of the public. I believe that even through the over-election, people will show the need for a common candidate and the need to address several key issues during the presidential election. Let's take this as an example. They annulled the 17th Amendment by bringing in the 18th Amendment. One point mentioned in the 17th Amendment was the fact that elections need to be conducted under an independent elections commission. The Uva election shows us clear indications that the elections commissioner is stranded. At one point he mentioned that these incidents cannot be stopped even if Lord Buddha, Jesus Christ or Prophet Muhammad make an appearance.
Is it the elections commissioner that has been stranded or seems lost? Or is it the people who have hopes and aspirations of a common candidate? The talk about a common candidate seems to be falling apart.
I believe that the importance of a common candidate is emphasized with each passing day.
Now these issues need to be rectified. But why aren't people getting together to create an opinion that they want to rectify these issues?
It is clear that discussions are taking place. However, they are being held separately. The United National Party is saying that a new constitution is needed and that the executive presidency should be changed. The LSSP, the Communist Party, Minister Vasudeva Nanayakkara, the TNA and the JVP, they are all saying the same thing. This is a serious need for everyone.
There was a rumor that spread stating that you would be contesting as the common candidate. when certain party leaders said they would contest alone and that they had separate plans. When such statements are made, how do the people rally around a common goal?
මේ නැවතත් මේ පොදු අරමුණක් කරා එක්කහුව වෙන්නේ ජනතාව.
ඒක තාමත් මේක දෝලණය වෙමින් පවතින.
This is a topic that is still being debated. This discussion is nearing the conclusion of a common candidate slowly but surely. The common candidate is not important for us. What is important is a common policy.
If a common request is made asking you to contest for the presidential poll, are you ready to contest and triumph these common issues?
මේ කියන පොදු අරමුණ ජය ගන්න.
ඇත්තටම මගේ අපේ යෝජනාව තියෙන්නේ අපි එකට මේ එක
Our proposal is let us get together and discuss this issue. Let's discuss these three main issues and select a common candidate. It could be me or some other national leader. That is not the issue. What is important is the common goal.
Now, for more of the views expressed by Venerable Madhuluave Sobita Thera, tune into the main news bulletin at 10 o'clock tonight on our sister channel, Citizen TV. Now, you can also watch the complete interview on Final Cut unedited following the news at 10 on Citizen TV, or you can watch the interview on our website www.newsfirst.lk. But in the meantime, let's now take a look at the battle for Uber.
We cannot replace posters at the rate in which they are being covered up. They bring container loads of posters. Then what should we do to make the people remember our numbers? Wars belonging to people are covered in posters. Don't tear them up because maybe they support that candidate. If they can't get the votes this time, they could at least get the votes the next time.
Soisa is like a snake who has been sprayed with kerosene. He has forgotten what he is saying and he has accidentally stated the real situation. He shouted that I said that there is a bar under his wife's name. Later he stated that there are not one but 3 bars. I found them the next day. Now the total stands at 33.
They're traveling from village to village and speaking of a list of bars. When we go to villages, we speak about lists of development activities that we have done. We don't speak about other people's mistakes. We don't have magical powers. We are not hoodwinking the people, nor are we spreading false propaganda. If all this takes place, then either the people are fools or the people making these statements are fools.
People cast their votes despite their hunger just so they can say this is our government. What have they done for the 4.5 million people that vote for the betel leaf? They too beat the same hunger and suffer from the same difficulties. We are calling on the people who vote for the betel leaf to think intelligently.
The opposition wants the government to commit mistakes and suffer because of it. When you are suffering, then they will come ask for your vote.
As J.R. Jayawardena granted the deputy leadership to Ranasinghe Premadas, will Ranil Wickramasinghe too grant the deputy leadership to Sajid Premadasa? If your answer is yes, type STV space Y, or if your answer is no, type STV space N and send it to 7788. You can also participate in this poll by visiting www.newsfirst.lk.
Speaking at a media briefing convened by the United National Party today, UNP MP Mangala Samaravira expressed these views.
I have no anger towards President Mahinda Rajapaksa whatsoever. Even if I meet him today, I will be able to speak to him as a brother. The president who we elected is violating our principles. Mahinda Rajapaksa, who at the outset said that he was only a trustee of this nation, has at present taken the form of a dictatorship and is cutting back on all the democratic institutions in this country.
Parliament adjourned early once again today. The House was adjourned as the chair determined that the proper procedure had not been followed by the opposition when requesting the adjournment motion. Parliament was adjourned early yesterday as well, owing to a lack of quorum, while the debate on the regulations under the Import-Export Controls Act was underway. An exchange of words took place between Chief Government Whip Minister Dinesh Gunawardena and the chair in Parliament yesterday prior to the decision to adjourn the House owing to a lack of quorum. Let's take a look at the views that were expressed.
There was an agreement that we would pass this without any unopposed. Unopposed means the smooth flow till the regulation is adopted. So I don't want to say anything for the backbencher, Honorable Pereira, who raised this, but he is unaware of this decision that was taken. That is what I would like to submit to you, so that we go through with this regulation.
The Honourable Minister, we can discuss with the other party leaders meeting, but if any members are asked to quorum, we want to carry on.
Before you make a decision to adjourn and have a party leaders meeting, before you make any decision on the matter raised by the Honourable Member. That is my request.
But
please, we would request you to adjourn. You can come back and make your decision. We request you to adjourn.
Minister can't do like that.
Adjourn till and discuss with party leaders.
If any no quorum, I can't continue the Parliament because House adjourned until tomorrow 1 p.m.
Now on related notes, also speaking in Parliament yesterday, MP Sri Lanka, the General Secretary of the Citizens Front, made these remarks.
பார்லமெண்டம் வருபவர்களை மக்கள் தெய்வத்துக்கு அடுத்தபடியாக பார்த்தார்கள்.
In the past, the people considered MPs as gods. They had respect for MPs. They considered them to be leaders. But today, there is a problem as to whether there is at any point in speaking in this parliament. The people have this problem. There is a problem as to whether debates in parliament are of any benefit to the people. There must be a change. MPs must attend parliament sittings and be informed on what is happening here. Parliament will only convene on Tuesday and Wednesday this week. It was the same last week. What is the reason behind this? The UWA Provincial Council election. Because of the UWA Provincial Council election, Parliament does not convene on Thursday and Friday. Is the Provincial Council election more important than this House? What is the name of this House? Parliament. It is the House that governs the country. But today, the Provincial Council election has become more important for some people than the Supreme House. When parliamentarians do not attend Parliament sittings, the people lose faith in this House and the importance of democracy fades away. When the respect for democracy principles fades, people resort to violence. We can see incidents of how people have resorted to violence in some countries in order to acquire power.
Addressing Parliament yesterday, UNP parliamentarian Harsha De Silva shared these thoughts on television broadcast technology.
In 2011, the then Secretary to the Ministry of Mass Media, Ganegal, stated that a decision was reached to introduce the DVB-T2 technology to Sri Lanka by 2015 and that all television channels should make the switch from analog to digital by 2015. They spent a sum of 70 million rupees on the Cokerville Tower, and when it was declared open, the President said that we would be migrating to the DVB-T2 technology. A national roadmap team was set up consisting of individuals from the TRC, Ministry of Defence, the Moratuwa University, SLRC, ITN, EAP Network, MTV channels and Dialogue Television. A roadmap was created. I would like to submit this to Parliament. It is clearly stated in this report that the technology selected was DVB-T2. This technology was introduced by the European Union. 134 countries have currently tied up with this technology. Some institutions have already invested in this equipment with cabinet approval in order to make the transition in 2015. Then all of a sudden, after the arrival of the Japanese Prime Minister, they announced that they have plans to switch to the ISDBT technology, which is based in Japan. It was stated in the papers that this will be introduced through a 13 billion yen loan. Was this debated broadly? Did you seek professional opinions? Was it discussed with them? Then why did the government change the technology that they had earlier agreed to? This should not be politicized. Yes, Japan has aided us, but we must see which technology better aids us to develop the country.
Wild animals in the Yala National Park are at risk due to the shortage of food and water. Our correspondent who toured the park today said that deaths of many wild animals have been reported. Newsfirst correspondent Granville Ratnaika reports from the Yala National Park.
මන්දුටුව දෙයක් තමයි මේ වන විට ජාතික වනෝද්‍යානයේ සියලුම ගහකොළ වියලි මැරී යමින් පවතිනවා. එමෙන්ම සතුන්
All the flora in the national park are dying. Animals are unable to find water sources within the wildlife park. Wild elephants, deer and wild boars have gotten used to coming to the roadside as they can no longer find food within the park. The fauna do this expecting food from visitors. We could see individuals who arrive from other areas providing water and food for the wildlife. However, we were not able to witness a single wildlife officer providing any food or water for the fauna of this wildlife park day. The chief incumbent of the Situl Power speaking to us stated that the wildlife within the park are dying.
Now, CCTV cameras at a fuel station in Kurunegala captured a bizarre incident where an employee was severely assaulted. The footage, which is about to be aired, might be distressing for some of our viewers, so viewer discretion is advised.
An employee of the fuel station on the Kurunegala-Colombo road was assaulted by two individuals at around 11 last night. The victim of the assault is receiving treatment at the Kurunegala hospital.
When I was on night duty last night, a van came to pump diesel. The vehicle was positioned in a manner where the fuel hose was not long enough to pump the fuel. So I told the driver to take the vehicle a bit back, saying that the hose is not long enough. They refused and started to blame me using profane words. I told them once again that if they reversed the vehicle a bit, I could pump the fuel. Then they started using profanity once again, asking me who do I think I am. They went around the back and brought an iron pole and beat me up with it. There were a few people there. There were some people in a three-wheeler who had come to the station to pump fuel, and there were also some police officers.
Following the assault, the group fled the scene in the van and later met with an accident in Mihindumawata area in Kurunegala. At the accident site, the two suspects were arrested by the Kurunegala police. The police said that after the two suspects were produced before the Kurunegala magistrate, they were ordered to be remanded until the 17th of this month.
With one of our headline-making stories, up next is Action TV. The fourth leadership training program organized for persons who qualify for university enrollment following an intensely competitive examination has now commenced. While the inauguration ceremony was held on the concluded Poya Day, 23,500 students will undergo the leadership training program this time around. The 3-week-long training program will be held in 3 phases at 21 training centers across the island. This letter, addressed by the Additional Secretary, Control and Finance at the Ministry of Higher Education to the officials in charge of the training centers on the 4th of this month, to a certain extent, show the level of preparation on the part of the Ministry for this training program. This letter has been penned with regard to organizing the task of taking group photographs at each training center with the students, the relevant officials and the subject minister, followed by a collective photograph of all the participants, officials and the subject minister. In the past 3 years, the students have stood for group photographs with the officials at their respective training centers. According to this letter, the fact that the subject minister too will be standing for the group photographs this time around will add value and beauty to the photographs in terms of their being memorabilia for the students. According to this letter, the group photographs should be taken this time around with all the payments being made by the students for the photographs being transferred to the welfare account of the Ministry of Higher Education. The Additional Secretary to the Ministry of Higher Education has also determined a price for each photograph for this photography enterprise, which has a market of 23,500 students. The price for each laminated 10-inch by 15-inch photograph is 295 rupees. Over the past 3 years, the students were issued photographs with the same size and quality specifications for between 175 and 250 rupees at each training center. While several professional photographers were able to make some money from this venture in past years, this time around, if all the students decide to purchase a photograph, a lump sum of 6,932,500 rupees will go to one institution. Instead of transferring the cost benefits that will no doubt be received as a result of a mass order for photographs being made to the students, it appears that the Welfare Association of the Ministry of Higher Education will be providing a new interpretation for the word welfare by charging each student between 24 and 125 rupees more than they were charged in previous years. What guarantee exists that all the money earned from this enterprise will be credited to the account of the Welfare Association of the Ministry of Higher Education? What benefit will the students receive from this enterprise undertaken by the Welfare Association of the Ministry of Higher Education? Secretary to the Ministry of Higher Education, this one is over to you.
The Dampal Riasariya convoy organised to mark the commemoration of the 150th birth anniversary of late Anagarika Dharmapala reached Kandy this evening.
The event to mark today's commencement of the convoy took place under the auspices of the chief incumbent of the Bodhirukarama Viharya, Venerable Alutkama Upananda Thera. Subsequently, the vehicle used by the late Sir Anagarika Dharmapala, his passport and a book written in his own handwriting were put on display for the public. Subsequent to placing floral tributes to the statue of Anagarika Dharmapala in Dambulla, the convoy made its way to Kandy. Many had gathered on either side of the route to witness this rare occurrence as the convoy headed to Kandy. The Dampal Riasariya convoy made its stop today at the Gatambe Rajopavanarama Viharya in Kandy. The Dampal Riasariya convoy will head to Bandarawala from Kandy tomorrow. Meanwhile, a group of Japanese delegates are scheduled to attend the final day of the Dampal Riasariya convoy in Colombo. Among them is Antonio Inoki, a former Japanese professional wrestler and a current member of the House of Councillors in Japan. He is also tipped to be considering running for governor of Tokyo.
On to business news, Johnston Fernando, the Minister of Internal Trade and Cooperative, says steps will be taken within the next 10 days to stabilize rice prices, which are currently exceeding government price controls. He added that an island-wide mobile rice supply system will be initiated for this purpose. The 299th branch store of Lanka Satosa was declared open in Borala today. Speaking at the opening ceremony, Minister Johnston Fernando remarked on the problems posed by high rice prices.
The rice prices are truly high today. We accept that. We didn't receive the expected yield for 3 seasons because of the drought, and that has driven up the price of paddy. It is good for the farmers, but not for the consumers in the city. If we try to arrest this trend, what will happen is that they will start hiding rice stocks, and there will be a shortage of rice in the country. Thereby, the government has decided for the first time to grant permission for the importation of rice. In the next 10 days, we hope to distribute rice via Lanka Satosa lorries to every city and every junction. We will sell rice from each junction to bring the price under control. We will not try to escape from this problem. We will protect the farmers and the consumers.
An event to celebrate the life and works of renowned human rights activist and feminist Sunila Besekara, titled Remembering a True Human Rights Activist, was held in Colombo last evening. Speaking at the event, Dr. Nimalka Fernando, on the topic of state responsibility on protecting human rights, said that Sri Lanka needs to behave as a respectable nation.
The first year commemoration of the late Sunila Besekara was attended by a distinguished gathering.
The Sri Lankan state has signed and ratified the UN Charter, the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, the International Covenant on Economic and Social Rights, the Convention Against Torture, the Geneva Conventions, among others. We did so because we want to improve the quality of life of our people and to be part of the Committee of Nations. We cannot suddenly say, when it is inconvenient and our impunity is threatened, that we now want Asian values. That Sri Lanka has a long tradition of respecting human rights. We don't need to fake a fast unto death in front of the United Nations office in Colombo or elsewhere in denial of our obligations. We have ratified them, so we have to behave as a respectable nation. And since the universal principles related to human rights civilization after the period of enlightenment are part and parcel of each country's sovereign obligation and imperative.
In sports news, Sri Lanka recorded a 125-78 win over Brunei today in Group B encounter at the Asian Netball Championships. Malaysia also recorded a resounding 87-20 victory over Myanmar in today's games. Sports Roundup has the details.
Sri Lanka suffered its second defeat in the Super 8 stage at the 10th Asian Youth Boys Volleyball Championship today. Chinese Taipei defeated Sri Lanka 3-0. The Southern Express team, captained by Jahan Mubarak, that will represent Sri Lanka at the Champions League 2020 in India, left the island yesterday. Sri Lankan paceman Lasit Malinga will not represent the Southern Express as he will be playing for the Mumbai Indians.
With that, we wrap up tonight's edition of Primetime News. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Minoshi Ratnasekara.
And I'm Shahin Jerome Party. Good night and take care.